Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. I want to talk to you tonight about opportunities that you'll have on the job. I'm going to be reading a verse to you out of the book of Esther in chapter 4 in verse number 14. Before I read that verse to you, as it comes to our jobs, it's really an interesting time. Some of us are out of work, some of us are at jobs that have slowed down a lot. Some of us have jobs that have become challenging because we're working remotely. Others of us are picking up more hours than we're used to. And the stress level's gotten a lot higher. So there's a wide gamut of situations that we're dealing with at our places of employment. And, so I want to have this devotion focusing on those that still have their jobs and some considerations there. In Esther chapter 4, in verse number 14, actually I'll read verse 13 just for a little context sake. It says, "Then Mordecai commanded to answer Esther, Think not with thyself that thou shalt escape in the king's house more than all the Jews. For if thou altogether holdest thy peace at this time, then there shall enlargement and deliverance arise to the Jews from another place. But thou and thy father's house shall be destroyed, and who knoweth whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" I want to focus in on such a time as this. You're at your job, and I want you to consider this, that first, God has placed you there. When we think of Esther, it's fairly interesting. It's one of the few books that the name of God is not mentioned in the book, yet we see God's hand working throughout the book of Esther. And Esther was right where she needed to be to intervene on behalf of the people of Israel. God knew where she was, and He worked in her life to bring her to the right place at the right time, to be right where she needed to be for that particular time. And that's how it is with your job. You're not there by accident. It's the place that God has placed you, and He could have put you a lot of different places, but He didn't. He put you right where you're at, and He chose you to be there for this time. And so the very fact that you still have your job, that you haven't been laid off, that you're still there, is testimony to the fact that that's where God wants you, and God's allowed you to remain there, and this was done for a reason. So first, God's placed you at your job, but secondly, I want you to consider you are needed at your job. You are needed at your job. You're not there just to take up space, because if you were, you'd be gone. All right, you wouldn't be there. Right now, jobs are premium, and they're not just keeping around people for no reason. And so, you're at your place because you're needed, because your job's important. Each of us have a different skill set. And our employers need that skill set at this time. And a lot of our jobs have gotten harder. All right? Everybody's job's harder. Even my job as a pastor is harder. Okay? So everybody's job is harder right now. And I think of those that are in sales right now. I mean, that is a tough job. All right, that is a tough job because you don't have an easy task. Try selling something to somebody when they aren't buying. It's a very difficult thing to do. And I do believe to a certain extent each employer has tempered expectations. However, with that said, they are counting on you. All right, and your numbers might not be what they normally are, but understand, with the Lord's help, they can be something that is beneficial to the company. Take the skill set that God has given you, take the crafts that you have that you fine tune, and use them, those abilities you have, use them to the benefit of your employer. And so some of you are being asked to do things that you don't normally do. You're being asked to take on responsibilities because people have been let go or people are out sick. And so you're doing things you don't normally do, but you're the only one to do it because of all these various reasons. All right, so this is a unique opportunity that you have, and your employer is leaning on you to help with these things. Think of Esther. I mean, she was the only one who could help the people of Israel. She was the only one who was in a position to do anything to help her people. That the task was up to her. There was nobody else that was going to be able to do anything. And many of you are in a position where there's nobody else. It's you. You got to do the job. And you might be being asked to do more than normal. And it may not be a sustainable model forever, but it's time to step up and do it. And let me say this, if you're a Christian, don't complain. Don't complain you're not getting paid enough. Don't complain. Just do the job. Do it well. Do it to the best of your ability. Because you have an amazing opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others. Consider those in the medical field. Well, you have the opportunity to save lives. Now, if you're in the medical field, right now, I completely understand that there may be a tendency to dwell upon the negative. I know as a pastor, my desire is to help people, all right? And I help all sorts of different people through all sorts of different trials and struggles and different things like that. Now, I wish I could tell you that I'm successful in every single situation, but that's just not the reality. The truth is that there's people that I try to help that sometimes I'm not successful in helping. And some have ruined their lives. Some have lost their marriages. Some, sadly, are dead. But, and I tried to help them and I could not. However, there are a lot of people that have been helped. There's been a lot of people that have come and I have been able to help, and they are doing good, and their marriages are together, and they are living for the Lord, and they're happy people, and that's exciting to me. And so I have a choice. I can dwell on the negative, the ones I couldn't help, or I can focus in on the ones that I did help. Now, to sustain, I tell you what, I have not forgotten on the ones I didn't help, or couldn't help, I should say, but I focus in on the successes there. Now, if you're in the medical field right now, people are dying. You want to help them, but there's only so much you can do. But this is, and the thing is this, is if you allow your mind to dwell on the losses, it'll eat you up. And you're going to have some serious problems down the road. So what you need to do is not dwell on the ones that you weren't able to help. Instead, let your mind dwell on the ones that you did help. Because there's a lot of people coming in that wouldn't have made it without your help. But you did help them. And because of your help, they're going to go home and they're going to go back to their families. And that's what you got to focus on, is that you're making a difference for good. Those in other fields besides the medical field, you also have amazing opportunities. It's not easy being in business right now. People have been laid off. We all know people that have lost their jobs, and in your company, there's people that have lost their jobs. Good coworkers. Some of them might even be friends, and you have your job. Some people feel guilty about that. Here's what I say to that: don't feel guilty. Don't feel guilty at all. Instead, do the best job that you can. Make that company as successful as you can be, so that when things turn around, there's a company for those friends of yours, those coworkers of yours that got laid off. Do a good job so that they have a company to come back to. Because see, they're counting on you to keep things going. You got to do their job and do a great job to keep things going, so that people have a job to come back to. And you can help them get their job back by weathering the storm and making your company profitable, so that they can hire people back. And because so if you do your job well, they have a job to come back to. And think now, but also beyond that, think about this. Think about the spiritual opportunities that exist. Spiritual opportunities. When you do your job good, when you don't freak out, when chaos erupts, when things don't go according to plan, but when you have the peace of God which passes all understanding, when you have some collectedness to you, when you do your job without complaining, when you do the best job that anybody could expect to be done in that situation, that's a testimony. That's a powerful testimony. When you keep your cool and have a positive attitude, when you have a sweet spirit about you, even in the midst of negativity, eventually people are going to wonder, man, how do you do it? How do you do it? How do you just keep it all together? How do you... And the thing is this, is that as a child of God, you understand it's not you, but it's God in you who's enabling you and helping you to deal with all these things. And so you in turn, you glorify Him, you praise Him, you deflect everything back to God. And you know what that does in time? That gives you opportunities to talk about the Lord with other people that maybe they might be saved. Look, if you're working right now, I'm sure it's got its challenges. Whether things are slow or whether things are chaos, I'm sure it has its challenges. But friend, God put you there. Your job is important, and it's going to provide some amazing opportunities. So do the best you can, glorify the Lord, and He's going to be a great help to you. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Hope the devotion was a help to you. Listen, quick little announcement here. Normally I do Monday through Saturday. However, tomorrow night we're having a 6 p.m. service tomorrow night. Saturday, along with 3 services on Sunday, only 10 people, max of 10 people in each service. And so I will not be doing this devotion tomorrow night. Instead, we will have our service at 6 p.m. You can tune in to the church Facebook page or YouTube, Lifeline Baptist Church, also sermon.net or the church website. All those are various places you can watch the service. And so Saturday night at 6, Sunday at 9 and 11 in the morning, and then again Sunday at 6 p.m. 4 different messages that you can check out to give you plenty of Bible, to be an encouragement to you. I hope you get to tune in and check everything out. Lord bless you. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and I hope you enjoyed the devotion. God bless you. Bye now.